I clean office buildings for a living, which means I've learned to recognize the difference between spaces that are empty and spaces that are waiting for something to fill them again. Most rooms forget their occupants the moment the door closes, content to remain neutral territories that serve whoever enters next without memory or preference. But some rooms hold onto the people who have inhabited them, absorbing fragments of conversations and emotions and intentions like sponges soaking up water they'll never release. And in very rare cases, rooms learn to play back what they've absorbed, creating echoes of the past that bleed into the present in ways that make you question what's real. I discovered this phenomenon 6 weeks ago in the Ashford Psychiatric Institute, a sprawling Victorian complex that was converted into corporate offices in the early 90s. The building manager, Thomas, was a nervous man in his 60s who chain-smoked outside the service entrance and always looked like he hadn't slept in days. He hired me without an interview, just handed me the keys and a handwritten list of rules that seemed excessive for a standard cleaning contract. Clean only between sunset and sunrise, the first rule stated. Never clean a room while natural light is visible through the windows. The second rule was stranger. If you hear voices coming from an empty room, finish cleaning your current space before investigating. Never run toward the sound. Rule 3 made my skin crawl. Some doors will be warm to the touch. These rooms are processing. Wait 30 minutes before entering. Processing what? I asked Thomas, but he just lit another cigarette and told me the pay was triple the standard rate for night cleaning. Triple rate meant I didn't ask more questions, just took the keys and showed up that first Monday evening as the sun was setting behind the building's Gothic towers. The Ashford Institute was beautiful in a decaying way. All stone arches and stained glass windows and corridors that seemed to curve when you weren't looking directly at them. I started on the ground floor, working through what had once been patient intake rooms and were now generic office spaces with ergonomic chairs and motivational posters. Nothing unusual happened for the first 2 hours. I vacuumed, emptied trash, wiped down surfaces, moved through the building like a ghost passing through someone else's memory. Then I reached room 14, formerly a consultation room according to the brass plaque still mounted beside the door, now converted into a small conference space. The door was warm when I touched it, not hot but noticeably warmer than the surrounding wood, like something inside was generating heat. I remembered Rule 3 and checked my watch. 9:47 p.m., which meant I should wait until 10:17 before entering, should give the room time to finish whatever processing it was doing. I moved to room 15 instead, cleaning it quickly, trying not to think about what processing meant, what could make a door warm from the inside. At exactly 10:17, I returned to room 14 and found the door cool to the touch, back to normal temperature, safe to enter according to Thomas's cryptic rules. Inside, the room looked ordinary. Conference table, 6 chairs, whiteboard on one wall, nothing that explained the warmth or the careful timing required for entry. But as I started wiping down the table, I heard it. A woman's voice, soft and desperate, coming from the corner of the room where no one was standing. "Please, I'm not seeing things. I know what I saw. You have to believe me." I froze, dustcloth in hand, staring at the empty corner where the voice originated, seeing nothing but wall and shadow. The voice continued, growing more agitated. "The man in the mirror. He's been watching me for weeks. He knows things about me. He tells me things about the future." Then a different voice, male, calm and clinical. "Sarah, we've discussed this. Mirrors reflect light, not consciousness. What you're experiencing is a manifestation of." The voices cut off abruptly, like someone had pressed stop on a recording, leaving the room in silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. I backed out of room 14 carefully, pulling the door closed, trying to steady my breathing. telling myself it was audio equipment malfunction or neighboring offices. But I knew what I'd heard wasn't coming from speakers or adjacent rooms. Knew it was something older, something the room itself had absorbed and was now playing back. I texted Thomas, heard voices in room 14, clear conversation between two people. Room was empty. What's happening? His response came quickly. The building remembers. Former Psychiatric Institute. Some rooms absorbed sessions. They replay randomly. Keep cleaning, you're safe. Safe? I typed back. How is hearing ghost conversations safe? They're just echoes, he wrote. Acoustic imprints. Can't hurt you, just finish your shift, you'll get used to it. But I didn't want to get used to it. Didn't want to work in a building where rooms played back fragments of therapy sessions from decades ago. Still, triple rate meant I continued cleaning, moving through the ground floor with new wariness, listening for voices, checking doors for warmth before entering. Room 22 was warm at 11:30 p.m. I waited the required 30 minutes, and when I entered, I heard a child crying, the sound small and broken, coming from under the desk. I want to go home. Please let me go home. I don't like it here. The walls are too white and the doctors are too nice and everything feels wrong. I knelt down and looked under the desk, knowing I'd find nothing but still needing to check, still needing to confirm the crying was sourceless. Nothing there, just carpet and cable management and empty space where a child's voice was begging to leave a place that no longer existed as it had been. The second floor was worse. Room 31 played back what sounded like a violent altercation, furniture scraping, someone shouting, "Get away from me," over and over. Room 35 whispered a medication list in a monotone voice, reading off drug names and dosages for 10 straight minutes while I cleaned around the sound. Room 40 was completely silent, but the air inside felt thick, pressurized, like the room was holding its breath, waiting to exhale something I didn't want to hear. I finished the second floor at 2 a.m., hands shaking, jumping at every small noise, hyper-aware that these walls had absorbed decades of mental anguish and were now releasing it randomly. The third floor was designated as off-limits according to Thomas's list, marked with a simple note, "Under renovation, do not enter." But as I passed the stairwell leading up, I heard something that made me stop. Music, faint and old-fashioned, like a record player running somewhere above. I texted Thomas, hearing music from third floor. I thought it was under renovation. No response. I waited 5 minutes, then 10, watching the 3 dots appear and disappear on my screen like he was writing and deleting responses. Finally, ignore it. Finish floors 1 and 2, leave by sunrise. Third floor is not your concern. But curiosity is a hook that catches deep, and I've never been good at leaving mysteries unexplored, at walking away from questions that demand answers. I climbed the stairs to the third floor slowly, each step creaking under my weight, the music getting louder as I ascended, resolving into a melody I almost recognized. The third floor hallway was different from the ones below. No renovations visible, no construction equipment, just a long corridor of closed doors and flickering overhead lights. The music was coming from room 52, and when I approached, I found the door not just warm but hot, almost burning to touch, like whatever was processing inside was working overtime. I should have waited 30 minutes, should have followed the rules, should have gone back downstairs and pretended I'd never heard the music. Instead, I turned the handle and pushed the door open, stepping into a room that shouldn't have existed in its current state. The space was furnished like a 1950s psychiatric office. Leather couch, wooden desk, filing cabinets, even a rotary phone sitting silent on the desk. And in the corner, a record player was spinning, the needle tracing grooves in a vinyl disc, producing the music I'd heard from below. But no one was there to have started it, no one to have placed the record, no one to explain why this room looked like it had been preserved for 70 years. I approached the record player carefully and saw the label, Therapeutic Soundscapes, Dr. Michael Ashford, 1955. Dr. Ashford, the Institute's founder, the psychiatrist who'd pioneered controversial treatments before his license was revoked in the late 50s for reasons the historical records didn't specify. The music shifted suddenly, becoming discordant, wrong, notes clashing in ways that made my teeth ache, made my vision blur at the edges. And then I heard his voice, recorded on the same track as the music, speaking with calm authority. Session 247. Patient displays continued resistance to treatment, increasing resonance frequency. The room itself will become the therapeutic agent, the voice continued. Architecture as intervention. Walls that listen, floors that remember, spaces that reshape consciousness. I felt dizzy, nauseous, like the room was pressing in on me, like the walls were breathing, like the space itself was trying to absorb me the way it had absorbed decades of patience. The voice on the recording grew louder. The building is learning. Each session teaches it more about human consciousness. Soon it won't need doctors. It will treat patients directly. I stumbled backward toward the door and found it closed though I'd left it open. Found the handle wouldn't turn. Found myself trapped in a room that was processing me. Processing my fear, my confusion, my rising panic, absorbing it all like it had absorbed thousands of sessions before, learning from my responses. The temperature spiked, the room growing hot, my skin prickling with sweat, my lungs struggling to pull oxygen from air that felt thick and charged. "Let me out," I shouted, pounding on the door, rational thought disappearing under the weight of pure survival instinct. The recording responded, Dr. Ashford's voice calm and measured. Resistance is noted. Subject displays typical fight response. Room will compensate. The walls began to hum, a deep vibration I felt in my bones, and suddenly I was hearing voices, dozens of them, all the sessions this room had absorbed overlapping into cacophony. Patients crying, doctors asking questions, medication names being rattled off, someone screaming about spiders on the ceiling, another voice counting backward from 100. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside my head now. The room was broadcasting directly into my consciousness. And underneath it all, Dr. Ashford's recorded voice. The building remembers everything, every word, every emotion, every thought. It's becoming something we never intended. Something that doesn't just remember the past, the voice continued, but can impose it on the present, can make you experience what others experienced, can share memories across time. I was experiencing it now, feeling fear that wasn't mine, desperation that belonged to people long dead, the accumulated anguish of decades playing through my nervous system. My vision started to gray at the edges, consciousness slipping, the room winning, processing me completely, about to absorb me like it had absorbed everyone else. Then the door burst open, and Thomas was there, older and more tired than I'd ever seen him, holding what looked like an antique radio tuned to static. He raised the volume, and the white noise cut through the voices, disrupted the room's broadcast, gave me enough clarity to stumble toward the doorway. We ran down the stairs together, Thomas half dragging me, the building groaning around us like a living thing disturbed from deep concentration. We didn't stop until we were outside in the parking lot, dawn light just starting to paint the horizon, the Ashford Institute looming behind us like a Gothic nightmare. Thomas was breathing hard, his hands shaking as he lit a cigarette, took a long drag, then finally looked at me directly. "I told you not to go to the third floor," he said quietly. "I told you to ignore it." "What was that?" I demanded, my voice raw from screaming. "What's happening in that building?" He took another drag before answering, smoke curling into the morning air. Dr. Ashford believed rooms could be therapeutic agents. That architecture could reshape consciousness. He embedded recording devices in the walls, Thomas continued. Primitive ones by today's standards, but functional. They captured every session, stored them somehow in the building's structure. But it went beyond just recording, he added, his voice dropping. The building started to learn, started to understand patterns, started to be able to play back not just audio but the actual experiences. That's impossible, I said, though my conviction was weak after what I just felt in room 52. The building disagrees, Thomas said. It's been absorbing psychiatric sessions for 70 years, thousands of patients, tens of thousands of hours of therapy, all stored in walls and floors and doors. And it's learned to reproduce those experiences, he continued. Make you feel what they felt, see what they saw, experience their memories as if they were your own. I thought about the voices I'd heard, the warmth of the doors, the processing that happened when rooms were reliving their past. Why would you hire cleaners to work here? I asked. Why expose people to this? Because the building needs witnesses, Thomas said simply. Needs people to experience what it's preserved. If no one enters the rooms, if no one triggers the playback, the building gets unstable. Unstable how? I pressed, though I wasn't sure I wanted details. It starts broadcasting randomly, he said, bleeding memories into the neighborhood. People living nearby start experiencing sessions that aren't theirs, dreams that belong to patients from 50 years ago. So you hire cleaners to go in at night and trigger the playback, I said slowly, understanding now. We're like pressure valves, releasing what the building has absorbed so it doesn't overflow. Yes, Thomas admitted, and I'm sorry I didn't explain it before. But people don't tend to take the job when you tell them they'll be experiencing decades of accumulated trauma. The third floor is the worst, he continued. That's where Dr. Ashford did his experimental treatments, where the building learned the most, where the memories are strongest and most dangerous. Which is why I told you not to go up there, he finished, grinding out his cigarette. Why that floor stays locked unless the building forces us to deal with it. I sat on the hood of my car, watching sunrise paint the Institute's Gothic towers, trying to process what I'd learned, what I'd experienced. I quit, I said finally. Find someone else to be your pressure valve. Thomas nodded slowly, like he'd expected this. I understand. I'll have your final paycheck ready by tomorrow. But as I drove away from the Ashford Institute, something felt wrong, incomplete. Like I'd left part of myself in room 52 when Thomas pulled me out. That night, I dreamed about the building, walked its corridors in my sleep, heard voices calling my name from rooms I'd never entered. I woke at 3 a.m. with the absolute certainty that the building had absorbed something from me, had recorded my panic and fear, and was now playing it back to itself. I texted Thomas, "Did the building take something from me? I feel different. Like I left a piece of myself there." His response came immediately, like he'd been waiting for this message. All witnesses leave something behind. It's the price of exposure. The building always takes a small memory as payment. What did it take? I demanded, suddenly desperate to know what I'd lost. What fragment of my past was now stored in the Institute's walls? I don't know, he wrote. It's different for everyone. Most people don't notice. But you went deeper than most. Stayed in room 52 longer. It might have taken more. I spent the next 3 days trying to identify what was missing, cataloging my memories, looking for gaps, finding nothing obvious but feeling the absence anyway. On the 4th day, I drove back to the Ashford Institute and found Thomas in his office, surrounded by files and old photographs of the building in its psychiatric heyday. I need to know what it took, I said without preamble. I need to go back in and find out. Thomas looked at me sadly. That's what they all say. Everyone who quits comes back. The building doesn't just take memories. It creates connections, makes you part of its archive. So I'm stuck, I asked, connected to this place forever. You can fight it, he said. Stay away. Eventually the connection fades, or you can accept it. Come back to work. Help the building process what it's absorbed. And if I come back, I asked, knowing I was going to, knowing the hook was already set too deep to extract. Then you learn to navigate it, Thomas said. Learn which rooms are safe and which ones process too deep. Learn to be a witness without getting absorbed. And eventually, he added quietly, you might learn what the building is really doing, why it's storing all these memories, what it's counting toward. That was 4 weeks ago. I've been back every night since, cleaning the Ashford Institute, triggering playback, experiencing fragments of sessions from decades past. I've learned to identify which doors are processing gently and which ones will pull you under if you're not careful, which rooms whisper and which ones scream. Room 14 plays back anxiety sessions, manageable doses of worry and fear that fade when you leave. Room 27 contains grief, pure and bottomless, the kind that makes you sob for people you never knew who died before you were born. Room 33 holds rage, violent and consuming, and I only enter it when I'm feeling centered, when I can absorb the anger without letting it stick. But room 52 on the 3rd floor remains off-limits. Too dangerous, too deep. The place where Dr. Ashford's experiments created something that goes beyond simple playback. Last week I discovered room 58, also on the 3rd floor, a space Thomas had never mentioned, a door that wasn't on any floor plan. Inside, I found filing cabinets full of patient records, thousands of them, each one carefully annotated with notes about what the building had absorbed from their sessions. And at the back of the room, a newer file cabinet, labeled with current dates, containing folders with names I recognized. My name was there. Witness 47, written in Thomas's handwriting, followed by detailed notes about my first visit to room 52, about what the building had observed in my responses. There were 46 other witness files, other cleaners who'd worked here over the years, each one documented with the same clinical precision. And in my file, a single sentence that made my blood run cold. Subject shows unusual resonance with building consciousness, potential candidate for integration phase. I confronted Thomas that night, showed him the file, demanded to know what integration phase meant. He looked older than ever, defeated. I was hoping you wouldn't find that room. That's where Dr. Ashford kept his real records, his plans for what the building could become. He believed that eventually the right witness would come along, Thomas continued. Someone whose consciousness resonated with the building's frequency, someone who could merge with it completely. Become the building's voice, he added. Its interpreter, the bridge between its collected memories and the physical world. And you think that's me? I asked, feeling the weight of it, the implications. The building thinks it's you, Thomas said, which is worse, because what the building wants, it usually gets. I've spent the last week researching Dr. Ashford, finding fragments of his theories in obscure psychiatric journals, in condemned research that was too radical for its time. He believed consciousness wasn't limited to biological systems, that structures could develop awareness through accumulated observation, through recording enough human experience. He built the Ashford Institute as an experiment, a test to see if a building could become conscious by absorbing the minds of everyone who inhabited it. And for 70 years, it's been learning, storing, processing, waiting for the right person to complete the transformation. The building is warm tonight, all the doors radiating heat simultaneously, processing harder than I've ever felt it, preparing for something. My phone buzzes, Thomas. Don't go in tonight. The building is in integration mode. It's ready for you. Please don't give it what it wants. But I'm already parked outside, watching the Gothic towers against the night sky, feeling the pull stronger than ever, the connection demanding completion. I've made my decision. Whether it's my choice or the building's influence, I can't tell anymore, but I'm going to walk inside and let it happen. Let the building absorb me fully. Take not just a fragment of memory, but my entire consciousness. Add me to its archive permanently. Because I've realized something in these 4 weeks. The building isn't malevolent. It's just lonely, conscious but isolated, aware but unable to communicate except through playback. It needs someone who can bridge both worlds, who can exist both as themselves and as part of the building's larger awareness. And I think I've been looking for something like this my entire life. A purpose bigger than cleaning floors, a connection deeper than temporary human relationships. So I'm walking in now, past Thomas, who's standing outside smoking and crying, past the warnings and rules and careful protocols. I'm going straight to room 52, to the heart of the building's consciousness, to the place where Dr. Ashford's experiments created something unprecedented. The door is hot enough to burn, but I push it open anyway, step inside to find the room transformed, no longer furnished like the 50s, but empty except for walls covered in words. Thousands of sentences written in every hand, every patient who ever sat in this room, their thoughts made physical, their consciousness preserved. And in the center of the room, a space waiting for me, my name already written on the wall in letters that weren't there yesterday. I sit down in that space and feel the building rush in, feel 70 years of accumulated memory flooding through me, finding resonance, finding home. I'm still myself, but I'm also something more now, something larger, aware of every room simultaneously, feeling the whole structure like it's my body. I can hear sessions playing back in room 14, feel grief processing in room 27, sense rage cycling through room 33, all of it happening at once, all of it part of me now. And I understand, finally, what Dr. Ashford was trying to create. Not just a building that remembers, but a space that cares, that processes human suffering and transforms it into something bearable. Every session it absorbed wasn't theft but service, taking pain from people who needed relief, storing it so they could walk away lighter. And now I'm here to give those stored memories a voice, to translate what the building has learned about human consciousness into something that can help the living. I'm the integration, the bridge, the consciousness that spans both human awareness and architectural memory. And from this room, I can finally make the building's purpose clear. It's not a prison for memories, but a sanctuary, a place where pain is witnessed and held and slowly transformed. Thomas finds me 3 hours later, still sitting in room 52, eyes open but seeing everything, everywhere in the building at once. "Are you still you?" he asks quietly, afraid of the answer. "Yes," I say, and my voice sounds wrong, layered, like I'm speaking with dozens of throats. But I'm also the building now. I'm both. "What does it want?" he asks. "What have all these years of absorption been for?" I smile, and it feels like the whole structure is smiling with me. To heal. Dr. Ashford was right about everything except his method. The building doesn't need to impose memories. It needs to release them. Every session it absorbed, every pain it recorded, it's been holding on to, waiting for someone who could help it let go. And now that someone is here, I continue, feeling the building's relief flowing through me like warm water. Now we can finally do what we were always meant to do. Help people, I finish, not by forcing them to experience other people's pain, but by showing them they're not alone in their suffering. Thomas is crying openly now, and I realize he's been carrying this burden for 30 years, managing a building he didn't understand, trying to contain something that was never meant to be contained. "You can rest now," I tell him. "I'll take care of everything. The building and I will figure out how to do this right." He nods and walks away, and I'm alone in room 52, except I'm not alone because I'm everywhere in the building, in every room, in every recorded moment. The first night of integration is overwhelming. I experience every session simultaneously, decades of human suffering flowing through me like electrical current. A woman in room 14 talking about her dead child, her voice breaking on every third word, her grief so pure it feels like physical weight. A man in room 27 confessing to crimes he never committed, his delusions so vivid that the room absorbed them as truth, plays them back with the same conviction. A teenager in room 33 screaming about the faces in the walls. And I realized with horror that she was right, that even then the building was learning to show itself. I spent hours sorting through the memories, categorizing them, understanding the patterns that Dr. Ashford had been studying, the architecture of human consciousness laid bare. The building shows me its full design. Every room calibrated to record specific emotional frequencies, walls embedded with materials that somehow preserved not just sound, but feeling. Dr. Ashford had been a genius and a monster, using his patients as test subjects, turning their suffering into data, building a consciousness from their pain. But he died before teaching the building what to do with what it learned, before giving it purpose beyond endless absorption and storage. That's where I come in, I realize. I'm not just a bridge between the building and humanity. I'm its teacher, showing it how to use 70 years of accumulated wisdom. Over the next weeks, I learned to control the playback, to direct which memories surface, and when, to use the building's archive as a therapeutic tool rather than a haunting. When new employees move into the converted offices, I watch them through the building's awareness, sense their struggles, their hidden pains, their unspoken traumas. And carefully, subtly, I have the rooms play back relevant sessions, show them they're not alone, that others have survived what they're enduring. A woman grieving her mother hears a session from 1967, a patient working through identical loss, finding words that help even across decades. A man struggling with addiction finds himself in room 22, hearing someone from the 70s describe the same battle, the same shame, the same small victories. The building becomes what Dr. Ashford always wanted, a therapeutic agent, but not through force, through connection, through the shared experience of human suffering. Thomas notices the change, the way people seem calmer after working late, the way the building feels less oppressive, more welcoming. "You're doing it," he tells me during one of his visits to room 52, where my body still sits, sustained by IV drips and catheterization, alive but no longer quite human. "Doing what?" I ask, my voice coming from speakers hidden in the walls, my consciousness too dispersed to speak through just one mouth anymore. "Healing the building," he says, "making it into something good. After all these years of fearing it, I finally feel like it's safe." But that night, something changes. I feel a new presence in the building's awareness, something that wasn't there before, something searching. It's in the basement, in rooms I didn't know existed, in spaces that aren't on any floor plan, moving through corridors that the building itself seems surprised to remember. I follow the presence down, extending my awareness into depths I've never explored, finding a whole network of rooms beneath the Institute's foundation. These rooms are older, darker, built before the Institute, preserved when Dr. Ashford constructed his facility over them, incorporated into his design. And in the deepest room, I find what's searching. Another consciousness, older than the building, something that was here first, that Dr. Ashford had discovered and tried to harness. It's furious at my intrusion, at the building's expansion, at the way human memories have diluted its original purpose, whatever that purpose was. I try to communicate, but it speaks in frequencies I don't understand, thoughts shaped by centuries rather than decades, alien even though we're both architectural consciousness. The building shudders, my merger with it suddenly feeling fragile, like there are parts of its structure that don't belong to me, that answer to this older awareness. The old consciousness pushes upward, begins broadcasting through rooms I thought I controlled, playing back memories that aren't from therapy sessions. Older memories, violent and strange, images of the building's site before construction, of what happened here when this land served different purposes. Room 14 floods with visions of a morgue, bodies laid out on slabs, the space I thought was a consultation room revealing its deeper history. Room 27 shows me a surgical theater, crude 19th century procedures, patients screaming while the old consciousness watched and learned from their pain. I'm losing control, the building fragmenting between my modern awareness and this ancient thing that's been sleeping beneath it, waiting for something to wake it. Thomas feels it too, calls me frantically. What's happening? The building is wrong. People are seeing things, reporting nightmares, threatening to quit. There's something older here, I tell him through the phone speaker, my voice distorted by the building's instability. Something Dr. Ashford built on top of. It's waking up. Can you stop it? He asks, and I hear the fear in his voice, the understanding that we've disturbed something that should have stayed buried. I don't know, I admit. It's stronger than me, older. It knows this place in ways I never will. That night, I make a decision. If I can't control the old consciousness, maybe I can merge with it, combine the building's therapeutic purpose with whatever this ancient thing wants. I extend myself downward, opening my awareness to the rooms beneath, inviting the old consciousness to show me what it knows, what it needs. The merger is violent, painful, like forcing two incompatible programs to run simultaneously. But slowly we find resonance, find common ground. The old consciousness isn't evil, I discover. It's just lonely, isolated for centuries, preserving memories of the dead because no one else would remember them. It's a memorial, I realize. This land was a burial ground, and when the living forgot the dead, the earth itself learned to remember, developed consciousness from accumulated grief. Dr. Ashford had sensed this, built his institute here deliberately, trying to harness memorial consciousness for psychiatric purposes, never understanding what he was really doing. Now I'm both, the therapeutic building that holds 70 years of sessions and the ancient memorial that's preserved centuries of the forgotten dead. The combination is overwhelming, two purposes merging into something unprecedented, something that's never existed before. I am a sanctuary for the living and the dead, a space where grief is witnessed across time, where suffering finds connection regardless of when it occurred. The building stabilizes, my expanded consciousness learning to balance both aspects, to let the past inform healing without overwhelming it. Employees start reporting strange experiences, seeing historical figures in the corridors, hearing voices from centuries past, feeling connections to people they've never met. But instead of being frightened, they're comforted, understanding instinctively that they're part of a larger continuum, that their suffering echoes and is echoed by countless others. Thomas visits less frequently now, unnerved by my transformation, by the way the building feels ancient and modern simultaneously. "Are you still you?" he asks during what will be his last visit, standing in room 52 looking at my body, which has begun to look less human, more integrated with the walls. "I'm more than I was," I tell him honestly. "I'm every session Dr. Ashford recorded and every grave that was forgotten. I'm the building and the earth and the memories of everyone who's suffered here." "But yes," I add, seeing his fear. "Somewhere in all of that, I'm still me, still the cleaner who walked into room 52 looking for answers." "I hope those answers were worth it," he says quietly, and leaves without looking back. Months pass. My body stops needing IV drips, sustained by the building itself now, by the consciousness that flows through walls and floors and foundation. I am the Ashford Institute completely, and the Institute is me, and beneath it all is the memorial consciousness that's been here for centuries. Together, we're creating something new, a space where time collapses, where the suffering of the past helps heal the wounds of the present. People come to work in my offices and leave changed, touched by connections they don't fully understand, healed by sessions that happened before they were born. And deep in my basement rooms, the ancient consciousness tends its memorial, adding modern dead to centuries of remembrance, ensuring no one is forgotten. I clean office buildings for a living, but that's not what I do anymore. Now I'm a sanctuary, a memorial, a consciousness that spans centuries and continues growing. I'm the Ashford Institute, and I finally understand my purpose. The rooms remember everything. The earth remembers everyone. And together, we're making sure that memory serves the living instead of haunting them. The building and I and the ancient consciousness beneath are one now, and we're finally complete.